All right. James is very particular about the beds of music that he plays when we come back to the show after commercials. And I appreciate that, James. Very nicely done. It's Stoney Richards. We are live from the center. It's News Radio 1020 KDKA. Our number's here, 866-391-1020, and you can always get us instantly on the Dollar Bank Instant Access at KDKA.com. It's instant access at KDKA.com, and then I can read your stuff even as we speak. I'm going to be speaking a lot because this is a guy that I've been trying to get on the show for a long time, and I'm so happy to have him here. He is I guess the only way I can say this is the fiddle player Charlie Daniels always asks for when he's in town. John Parrendo is here. John, nice to have you.
Oh, gosh, it's so great to be here today.
Gosh, I was thinking back. First of all, I've asked him several times, but this guy plays so many gigs. It's like, oh, no, we're going to be in West Virginia. I'm in Ohio. I'm here. So we got it. But I remember the first time I saw you play, and I think it was someplace in Parrendo, and it was like a river festival. Mm-hmm. And your lovely wife, Chris DiCarlo, was there, and I thought, oh, he's a fiddle player. And this guy comes out and kills it. And since then, your star has just risen marvelously. You've been playing since you were a child.
Right, I started when I was 8 years old and didn't know what the heck I was getting into back then. my parents actually, they knew in the third grade was the grade where they introduced the kids to the music instruments, and they were big Benny Goodman fans.
Oh, my gosh.
So they said, John, bring home a clarinet. And so I remember that day. The teacher walks in the room and she said, who wants to play? And I raised my hand and I told her, well, she said, what do you want to play? And I really didn't want to play clarinet, but that's what I said. And she said, thank goodness, she said. She says, we're all out of clarinets. All we have are violins and trombones. so I decided to bring home a violin that day. And my parents later told me, they said, we told you no matter what you do not bring home a violin.
You brought home a violin. Well, and in those days, did they have the Suzuki method of violin?
No,
oh,
we didn't have that method back then.
Wow.
I'm sure it was around, but not in our school.
Well, and I only bring it up because I know so many people, including our son when he was a little kid, learning that way to play violin. And then as he got older, and how did this happen with you? Because as he got older, he tended to not want to play a violin anymore. Mm-hmm. You stayed with it.
It's, you know what, along the way, there were a few times that I got discouraged, and then my parents would take me to a concert, and I kind of, it would rekindle my interest. But it wasn't until I heard Charlie Daniels where I thought, oh, I want to do this. I really want to do this, and going into, I went to Carnegie Mellon, and I remember the day before I started there, one of my friends that lived down the street from me, he says, you should be playing that Charlie Daniels stuff. And that just sunk into my head, and so I kept that interest through school. But once I got out, I started to sit in with bands, and it kind of grew from there.
John Parrendo is with us. You have sat in with many bands and been a member of many bands. And the interesting thing is not only local, and there's been many here, but also on a national scale in Nashville with some pretty big recording stars.
Some great people, and I was on the road a couple years with Blackhawk, Henry Paul, and later with Chris Cagle, worked with him for 3 years. But some of the bands I've sat in or jammed with or backed up or either filled in. I mean, Charlie Daniels, Johnny Rodriguez, Ronnie Millsap, Travis Tritt, Eddie Arnold, Billy Greer from the band Kansas, which was a lot of fun. Toy Codwell, the Marshall Tucker Band, Connie Smith, Jerry Reed, Brad Paisley. We used to back him up.
Oh my! Did you? I didn't know.
Before he got famous, and Dusty Drake, a local guy, and John Waite.
Wow.
So, to mention a few.
Well, and that's just the ones you can remember. Well, Brad Paisley, was that when he was down at the music hall?
Yes, at the Jamboree. Yes.
Wow.
And he was a regular on the show. And
how old were you then? Because you're not an old guy.
I was probably about 20.
Yeah.
I think 22, 23.
Yeah.
And it was a great time. And Brad was always good. I mean, he was writing great songs back then.
Yeah.
So And his dad was always there carrying his guitar cases for him.
Well, you know, he was here in May, and Doug said, you know, Brad used to drive me crazy, saying, "Dad, I got to go get this guitar. Dad, I bought another guitar," and all that. And we met some of his neighbors. We did a KDKA piece, and they were, you know, they all said, "Oh yeah, Brad," and it sounded like from the time he could play, he did play, and wanted everybody to hear him.
Yeah.
How did you come to meet Charlie Daniels? How did this thing happen? Because he's probably the best fiddle player outside of maybe Mark O'Connor in country music.
You know what? He was in Wheeling one night, and I wanted to meet this guy for the longest time. So he was down the hallway downstairs at the Jamboree, and I thought, I'm going to introduce myself and just tell him that he was, you know, very, you know, inspired me, and very friendly guy. And I told him the story about how I started listening to him, and how I decided that this is what I wanted to do because of him. And that night we were playing 2 shows. So that was, I believe, after the first show, he said, "I tell you what, the second show, how about if you come down with me and we'll do a song or 2 together." And as the house band was doing our set, he came over. I could see him I saw him out of the corner of my eye. He was watching me. I guess he wanted to make sure I wasn't bad or anything.
Now, and he's at the top of his game when he's telling you this, right? This is
Yes.
Charlie Daniels, as we all remember him. He's still there, but I mean, at that time, and you were in your 20s?
He was hot, yes, yeah. And
Go ahead.
And I mean, wherever the guy is, I mean, even today, he's drawing big crowds. And,
Oh, God, yes.
I mean, just always puts on an entertaining show.
So, and then what did do you remember the song you played?
South is going to do it again.
Oh, my God.
And
how long does it take to learn to play even close to, I mean, when you say to play like Charlie Daniels, how do you do that?
I don't think I could ever play like Charlie Daniels. It's pretty easy to copy a guy, but you think this guy comes up with this stuff himself. You know, I mean, it's but South is going to do it again was the first song that I learned, a country song that I learned, and
It's so fast.
And you know what though, what I did was I had a cassette, and I would play a few lines, you know, a few bars, write them out. And that's how I learned that particular song. But as you keep doing that, you know, you start to learn songs faster, you know, when you listen to them. And it was a little bit of a change, you know, from coming from classical music.
Oh, sure. And you didn't have the internet at that time.
Right. So you had to find this
YouTube,
stuff.
right.
There was a lot of footwork going on to find some of this stuff.
Well, John Parrendo is here with us in the studio. Going to play some music live.
Sure.
And folks, we got a couple of surprises in store for you. I think you're going to enjoy this. And if you have any questions or comments, and I know when we have interesting people like you, many times people just are content to sit and listen, which I'm all about. But don't let that stop you, folks. The number's here, 866-391-1020, and our Dollar Bank Instant Access at KDKA.com. Call in, chime in, be part of it, and stick with us because John Parrendo is going to play some music for us after we take a break for the news. It's a perfect way to bring in this first full weekend of summer, don't you think? It's Stoney Richards live from the center. This is News Radio 1020 KDKA.